Keep them.
I forgot to tell you, Miss Gaines, I also make a point of remembering telephone numbers.
I'll think it over. You'd better go inside. Mr. Johnson's a busy man. He doesn't like to be kept waiting.
Mr. Johnson should know that some things are worth waiting for, even telephone numbers.
The door, straight ahead.
Come in, Mr. Saunders. Come in.
I won't take up much of your time, Mr. Johnson.
Oh, that's quite all right.
You know about the murder of the courier, Allison.
The police were already here. They left just a short while ago. I thought the matter was settled.
Settled? Oh, $200,000 worth of diamonds. Your diamonds are missing.
Oh, you have it wrong, Mr. Saunders. I guess you haven't heard the latest.
I guess I haven't. What are you trying to say?
Merely that the police recovered my diamonds. They're in a safe in our vault room.
And where did they find the diamonds?
Well, there was an auto accident up in Van Cortlandt Park. The diamonds were found in the wrecked car.
And the police have the driver?
Oh, yes. The police have her.
A woman named Vivian Sears?
Yes. The police said that was her name. They asked me questions about her, but I could tell them nothing.
Well, if you'll excuse me, Mr. Johnson, I must run along. There are some questions I want to ask Miss Sears.
Well, I'm afraid that won't be possible. The police tell me Miss Sears is dead. She was killed in the accident.
Miss Sears' death wasn't an accident, Alec. I'm almost positive of it.
But the police reported her death due to accidental causes.
Well, just the same, I'm sure that the car she was in was forced off the road and down the hill in the park. According to the record, there was less than 5 gallons of gas in the car. If anyone is planning a long trip for a getaway, they'd be sure to be better stocked with gasoline. No, Alec, it was no accident.
You think she was killed by the same man who murdered Allison?
Yes, I think so. Oh, you take the next right to Baybrook. The Holly Inn is about 2 miles this side of town.
Next right. Rex.
Yeah?
I don't understand any of it. If Miss Sears and Allison were murdered for the diamonds, which is the only logical reason, why were the diamonds returned to their rightful owner?
Alec, for the time being, we're going to have to abandon the logic in this case.
Then where will we be?
Perhaps on the right track. We'll eliminate the diamonds from the case.
Eliminate the diamonds? Then what do we have?
Scotland Yard's reply to my inquiry on Allison told us that Allison at one time was an engraver. Now, that fact fits in with the metal filings which were found under his fingernails.
Yes, it doesn't fit too well when you consider that Allison abandoned his trade to act as a diamond courier over a year ago.
Well, perhaps he didn't abandon his trade at all. You remember that the deck steward told you that Allison remained in his stateroom throughout the entire voyage?
Yes.
Well, he may have been spending his time aboard ship engraving in secret.
Engraving what?
Well, I don't know, but something valuable enough to cost him and Miss Sears their lives. And that brings me to the visit I'm making to the Holly Inn. The book of matches which were found in Allison's room advertised the inn. So did the book of matches I got from Evelyn Gaines, Ralph Johnson's secretary.
Well, that may be only a coincidence.
That may be, but the long arm of coincidence can be stretched only so far, Alec, and then it snaps back and somebody's bound to be caught in its grip. Alec waited outside in the car. I walked into the Holly Inn. It was a typical small roadhouse. There was a bar on one side and a row of dimly lit booths along the other. I walked along the booth side, and then a hand reached out and grasped my sleeve.
Hello.
That long arm of coincidence I told Alec about was working overtime. Evelyn Gaines' pretty face came out of the dimness of the booth to smile at me.
Imagine meeting you here, Mr. Saunders.
Miss Gaines. What a pleasant surprise.
Won't you sit down and join me in a drink, Rex?
I'm glad you asked me that question, Miss...
Evelyn.
Evelyn, what brings you here? I thought you lived in town.
Weren't you sure?
Frankly, I was sure.
After business hours, interest.
Shall we stop playing the game?
I was just beginning to enjoy it.
Your friends might object to your wasting time.
Oh, speaking of my friends, meet Al.
Move over, chum.
You know, I have a feeling I've been through this same thing someplace before.
It's the same shooter you're feeling, you rib smart target.
He's all yours, Al. I'll be going along.
Yeah, sure. I'll be seeing you, Evelyn.
Goodbye, Rex. Thanks for the game.
Nice girl.
Lula.
You know, Al, Ever since our encounter in the taxi yesterday, I've been looking forward to meeting you again.
You and me both, smart talker. Only this meeting you don't walk away from.
Back to the climax of our story in a moment. 3 bestsellers. 3 RCA Victor bestsellers. 1, Iturbi plays the haunting Claire de Lune. 2, Leopold Stokowski conducts his symphony orchestra in the Blue Danube Waltz. 3, the Boston Pops Orchestra plays the beautiful Warsaw Concerto. 3 bestsellers, high on the honor roll of immortal music. 3 RCA Victor bestsellers. Stop in at your RCA Victor dealers and listen to these great Red Seal singles. Buy them. Take them home with you. Own them. Because they're classics in the classical field. You'll never tire of them. You'll play them over and over again. Claire de Lune, Blue Danube Waltz, and the Warsaw Concerto will make a wonderful addition to any record library. And they're available on the amazing 45 as well as 78 RPM. Buy them now. Get your copies of these 3 all-time best-selling RCA Victor Red Seal recordings.
Consciousness flowed back into my brain on a tide of a low humming sound. And the tide swept in faster and faster, and the sound became certain and distinct. I was on the floor in the back seat of a car. I was sick. Everything in me hurt. Then I heard him whistle. And I knew who it was. The man called Al. Al, happy. Al whistling while he worked. And I knew what his work for the night was going to be. A job named Rex Saunders. An auto accident. An accident like the one in which Vivian Sears was killed. But Al was going to have a hitch in this accident. I felt weak, but I could still move. I saw his head swinging from side to side and his thick neck swinging in time with his tune. I waited a moment to steady myself. And then I wrapped my arms round his throat. I pulled tighter. He let go of the wheel. He let go of the wheel and his hands came up to claw at my arms. The car started to swerve crazily. I held onto him with all my strength. Al was going to have his accident, but he was going to have it my way. He was going to be in it with me.
Here's to you, Evelyn.
To both of us. Little Evie Gaines and Ralph Johnson.
And to our trip to England.
And to Al Mason. Long may he rest in peace.
Alongside the dear departed Rex Saunders.
Too bad about Al dying in that accident, too. I wonder how he missed.
Now, my dear, we mustn't fret over Al. He served his purpose of ridding us of Allison and his lady friend Vivian Sears. It's just as well this way, my dear.
Allison did beautiful engraving, Ralphie. Very beautiful.
Oh, an accomplished artist. His last work was a masterpiece. Mm-hmm. The fraud will never be detected. Everything's perfect. The printing, the paper, everything. The British public will be honored with the new and unofficial pound notes.
The pound notes. Let's drink to the pound notes.
And to my car down in the hold of this very fine vessel.
You're terrific, Ralphie. You think of everything.
Well, it's kind of you to say so.
Oh, who'd ever think of looking inside the tire tubes of your car for counterfeit money? Who'd ever think of it?
I'm sure most people wouldn't.
Saunders.
You.
Mind if Alec and I join your little celebration, Johnson?
Well, perhaps we're intruding.
Oh, you're dead.
Can't be. The paper said Al and you were...
The papers were quite correct about Al's death in the accident.
But the story of Mr. Saunders' death was a bit exaggerated.
A ruse I carried through with the cooperation of the police.
And it paid off rather well, for us.
I permitted you to get this far, Johnson, so that I would be sure to stop the counterfeit money from being circulated in England. However, I must say that you had rather a neat plan, manufacturing the pound notes in the States and then taking them to England in the tires of your car. But murder always upsets the neatest of plans.
I had nothing to do with the killings. They were all his idea.
Evelyn, don't be a fool. Don't you see they can't prove
shut
anything?
up. I'm not going to die for you. He did it. He had Al kill Allison because he was finished with him. Allison found out that he was going to die when he finished the plate on the trip over. That's why he gave it to his girlfriend, Vivian Sears. It was all Johnson's idea. I had nothing to do with it.
Well, thank you for the confession, but it was quite unnecessary.
What?
Alec and I heard everything outside while you two were having your bon voyage toasts in here.
And from what we heard, it wasn't difficult to put the pieces together.
And speaking of bon voyage, there's another trip waiting you two in a government launch cruising off the port side of this liner. It will take us all to the pier where a special delegation from the police department is waiting to extend a toast of welcome back.